When disaster strikes, countries are thrown into disarray. Into this gap, aid flows. The world believes aid is used to rebuild the lives of those most in need. But is this the truth? My name is Antony Loewenstein, and I'm an independent journalist and author.
For more on this and where it may well lead, let's speak with Antony Loewenstein.
But we shouldn't forget one very important point. One,
talking earlier about the international fallout from what's happened in the UK.
These issues didn't suddenly become serious when Trump became president. He's going to make things a lot worse. He's going to make disaster capitalism on steroids. But ultimately, these issues have been around for 30, 40 years.
I've spent the last decade listening to frustrated voices around the world.
They are hell-bent on destroying the Haitian state and turning us into a collectivity of beggars.
I've seen people and corporations making money from misery.
We have a lot of great people working for our government, but we've given them a box of broken tools.
How disaster capitalism takes over. But what happens when the profit motive enters the aid equation? When aid in politics meets business, who really gains from the multi-billion-dollar industry? My journey takes me across the globe and through a murky world inhabited by governments, non-government organisations, and secretive businesses. In Afghanistan, Haiti, and Papua New Guinea, the story of disaster capitalism unfolds. War has consumed Afghanistan for 40 years. Decades of conflict have left the government almost entirely dependent on international aid. Washington has spent more on civilian aid to Afghanistan than was spent on rebuilding all of Europe after the Second World War, but with mixed results. Aid has increased the power of insurgents, criminals and strongmen who undermine the fragile state. I arrived at a time of rising insecurity, wanting to find out if the nation's huge and largely untapped mineral resources could be the key to ending 4 decades of war in a country known as the graveyard of empires. In 2010, the US was hopeful that mining could be a source of income from an independent Afghanistan.
The Afghan people, they have a source of indigenous wealth that, properly developed, will enable them to be sovereign.
But it was not to be.
در حالی که ما دادخواهی می‌کردیم روی از این موضوع که باید افغانستان یک دیدگاهی داشته باشه درباره معدن خود که چی رقم میره توسعه میدن.
I met Thor Neureiter at the Natural Resources Monitoring Network meeting. As a founding member, he's teaching local Afghans across the country about how to exert mining rights in their communities. There's an intense struggle over the huge amount of untapped minerals in the ground.
افریقا تقریبا 40 کال جنگ که په دې موضوع په معدن باندې یو مملکت کې تنها 3 میلیون نفر مړه شوي د معدن په سر باندې.
But Javid risks his own safety to advocate for vulnerable communities targeted for mining.
We need to have a platform, to engage with government, do advocacy for responsible, inclusive and sustainable, transparent development of the natural resource sector is very, very critical for the future of Afghanistan. Unless we do it this way, we will not be able to diversify the economy, we will not be able to share benefits with the poorest of poor. 35 MPs in this government that I can name, are involved in the illegal extraction of mines. Ministers are involved, powerful generals are involved, police is involved in the illegal extraction. If the government does not intervene, we face a conflict. We'll transition from one conflict into another one.
The Ainak mine is located in Logar province, the heart of the insurgency. I was instructed to wear the traditional shalwar kameez to blend in due to safety concerns from both the Taliban and police.
The government confiscated the land of local people that belongs to the poorest of poor in the name of public interest, and then passes it on to a company that's here, to extract copper and make profit. You took somebody's land, you didn't pay them, you displaced them, you didn't consult them, you didn't give them employment, you stole their water, you kicked them out of their schools. What we brought to them?
So Javi, tell me where exactly we're going.
We are going towards Ainak, a village called Dawo, where the majority of the people who have been displaced live in this village.
How close are we to the mine here?
You see this mountain? That's the area where the copper mine is. The area is super insecure.
Why?
Because it's an insurgent area. You see this police point there?
Yes.
That was attacked so many times, They have lost so many men in that checkpoint.
This one just here.
Yeah.
Travelling to what has been labelled the crown jewel of Afghanistan's economic gamble, it becomes clear that the stakes are even higher for the village elders we are about to meet.
They see policemen as enemies now. There are 1,500 policemen guarding the whole area. These are all guys, deployed, to guard Ainak.
So the situation is pretty grim.
You'll see fear in their eyes. They're scared, that the outsider's coming and then talking to them. This may be passed on to either the government side or the insurgents. And the two sets of people will come and question them. It's brave, They're so frustrated that they want to take risk. They want the world to know, what they've been going through, what they have lost.
Can you talk a little bit about the reality for your community here since the Chinese have wanted to come and mine copper from this area?
اولم دغه چنان ته ویلو چې دا تاسو سوچ مد نظر ونه نیسئ نو تاسو به دا پروژه ناکامه او بیا به ناکام د سره کو خدای د تا کله د موږ ممانعت ګرځي وو ته دا کله یو باسه د تا دا کله ممانعت ګرځي هغه چې دا کله یو د موږ نور مشکل نشته ما ورته چې تاسو به موږ مکتبونه جوړو لیسې به جوړو د سیو شبخانه جمعه جوړو چې لازر نفر ظرفیت ولري فامیلی به یې غړ دلته تاسو او د تاسو بار کې به حساب خود څه ځوان د موږ ته ویل چې به خيار موږ هم د سپاوا خو به لکه دا اوس مې تاسو درته ویل چې پروتوکول نه یې دا نور سره کوم شي پای خبره نه کوم
شاول په دې کمپنۍ باندې موږ ډیر خوشاله یو ولې ځکه چې دا کمپنۍ چې دا غونډه افغانستان ته سرمایه ده رسیږي موږ له خپل وطنم تیرو لکوټې لابادیات چې چیر سو ورم کړه په خوشاله وو موږ شکایت کړی دا خو چا نه ده منلی
ونې خلک ډېر موږ ته راغله عینکې په بچ کې وعدې راسره وکړه همداسې به هغه راسره خو دومره نتیجه ملاکه ورکړي ولا والي یې دروغجن و ولا چینایي یې دروغجن و ولا چې کرزي په ټول والا دروغ راسره وکړ دوکه راسره ولا که نو اوسه پورې موږ چا پوښتنه نه کړې.
If you could speak to the president of Afghanistan and the people who run the mine, what would you say to them now if they were sitting in this room?
تاسو باید د دولت سره به ارتباط ډیر مینه منطقه دغه نه توپاک په میز در سره کینی دولت ارتباطات باید ولس سره ونیسي ولس څه مشکل لري
چې بالکل تاسو د افغانستان نه موږ به یا پاکستان د یو بل خارج ملک ته بلاړ بسو پورې را باندې اول څه تا باندې خپل کور ته باندې رانګ څه کوي ځان دی په خو بکې کنه او موږ یې د مجبور کړی چې هغه د څه توپاک بغاړه کې واچو د خبر باندې دا خلک بیا ځان نو قرباني و کا کوم نه اول په میز سره په میز نه کا بیا هم دغه عمل سره کیږي.
These men are perilously close to joining the insurgency in an area barely an hour from Kabul. It reveals the dangers posed by the empty promises of the Afghan mining gamble, backed by both Western and Chinese money. While the elites fight from their secure compounds for political influence to control resources, the economy is on the verge of collapse.
رئیس سابق در پیش از انتخابات خوب بود. مردم همیشه کل مردم ها در کار مشغول بود، مشکلات زیاد نبود. فعلا دیگه کم کار در تمام ولایات، حتی در خود کابل بسیار کم شده. مردم پریشان است، مردم بیش از که چی کنند.
Why is the economy going so badly, do you think?
مسئله است که باید از امنیت باشه. امنیت باشه کل مردم خوشحال باشن. امنیت که نباشه مردم در فکر پریشان زندگی میکنن. در افغانستان زندگی کردن نمیکنن. بسیار مشکلات اجتماعی زیاد است.
My meeting with the money changer ended abruptly. The owner found our conversation too political. I headed to Bush's Market, named after President George W. Bush, as shops flourished there following the 2001 invasion, but where businesses are now struggling.
And do you think that that situation will get any better, or are you worried it's going to keep on getting worse?
Living in Kabul since Taliban rule of the 1990s, Kate Clark of the Afghan Analyst Network has watched the shifting political landscape closely.
It's obviously complicated, but what is your sense having been here for so many years?
I actually think it's not an international problem anymore. It's an Afghan war now. Almost all the people fighting and dying are Afghan. The Afghan state has to get serious. The Afghan elites have to get serious. If you actually look at the problems Afghanistan faces, a very powerful insurgency, a dysfunctional state, failing economy, international donors about to walk away. I mean, the obvious reaction to that would be to have some sort of, to have a national unity government and actually face the problems. But actually, you're still, what we see is the elites are still sort of fighting over what they can make. It's a very, very short-term outlook.
So what happens if these elites don't, in your mind, come to the party and realise the error of their ways?
Afghanistan's been lucky that Daesh happened. That's made it more interesting for America in particular not to see the project fail.
You mean the presence of ISIS in Afghanistan or the presence of ISIS in the region?
No, the shock of seeing them take over
Here?
Mosul. No, Mosul in Iraq and parts of northern Syria. The thing is, if you talk to the elites, they all think the Americans are here forever. So there's a basic lack of seeing reality. I mean, up to now they've been right.
Washington is weary of a war with ill-defined goals, and yet admitting defeat is unthinkable. Indefinite occupation is the result. The US openly talks about funding the ongoing US presence through the potentially lucrative mineral and resource trades, but it has already spent at least $500 million in failed attempts to kickstart the industry.
What would you say to someone who says the odds are against Afghanistan doing this well?
I agree. Sometimes, it's much better, to keep the resources underground than above ground. But I think we no longer have the choice. We have the international still, the engagement is still intense. With their help and with the leadership we have right now.
So you're still optimistic that Washington can play a more positive role?
Absolutely. It's like the role is so essential, a positive role, I mean. If they don't, you will see fragmentation of Afghanistan. The powerful warlords will take over the sector.
Before leaving the country, I visited the Ministry of Mines, where Javeed worked, to try and get a comment about the resource industry. We had requested interviews months beforehand, but on the day it was difficult to find even one government employee in the building who would speak.
There is one last option, is the chief of staff to the minister. He is just in the same corridor. Come out to his office when one of you go there. Oh.
So we'll see. Oh, hello. That's okay, thank you. Salam. Salam. Hi, Antony Loewenstein.
Nice meeting you.
We really have been told that we could speak to somebody on the record from your department. We were told we could speak to the minister. Then we're told he's away.
Yeah.
The deputy was away. The deputy was unavailable. Everyone was unavailable.
Yeah, because the actual thing is that His Excellency was having a trip, which was planned before.
Right. So I guess we wanted to ask if there was any way we could have 5 minutes, 10 minutes with somebody in a senior position here who could say something about what the plan is for the Guinea government, what your view is about the INAC mine, what the view is about the oil and gas up north, something.
Check with our spokesperson or with the media department?
Yeah, the spokesperson is not there, he resigned, you know. I think.
Yeah, but there is somebody else.
Mr. Afif.
Yeah, I guess there's a degree of internal chaos, isn't there?
Unfortunately, arranging the interview is impossible for this week.
It's fine. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. The disarray of leadership and infighting for positions in the ministries that we've heard about throughout our trip to Afghanistan revealed itself in these offices. After increasingly heated words, we were told to leave the building. I realised the high stakes of gambling the country's mineral wealth when Javeed told me his fears.
First, we don't know if we have $1 trillion worth of natural resources or not, because there are few mines which have been explored. Second, there's an oligarchy emerging, you know, to control the mining sector. They've entrenched themselves.
While $8 have flooded the country, Afghanistan has been plagued by corruption and fraud. The government has shown little success or willingness to tackle these issues. But in Washington, a small team is beginning to shed light on where the largest reconstruction investment in US history has gone. The man given the job is John Sopko. He heads up SIGAR, the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction.
Make certain you get a picture of the badass coffee. That was the beginning of the Vice article.
The brief I got from the White House was very brief. Fix it and fix it fast. Right. And good luck. Call us if you need anything. And so that's basically been it since 2012. We've now spent over $113 billion just on reconstruction alone, which is more than we spent on the entire Marshall Plan.
Should it have started earlier? I mean, the war started in 2001.
Probably should have. At the time we started, over half the money had already been spent.
In your comments, you said this is one of the worst programs that you have investigated in Afghanistan. I believe you said the most waste, the most fraud. When were you first made aware of it?
I think I started to hear complaints almost when I started the job 4 years ago. When we came out with our first audit, I believe, on the minerals section, and we did 2 audits on that. So it's been in our view for at least 2 or 3 years.
When you go to Afghanistan, as you do, what do you hear?
I've been going there now 4 years. I don't know how many times I've gone. I usually go every 3 months. The more I go there, the less of the country I can see because of the security situation. So
you're staying in a bubble, like it gets smaller and smaller.
Yes, the bubble is getting smaller.
Should the US, as a global power, give aid at all to a country like Afghanistan? Seen often how that aid is misplaced, disappeared. Should the US give aid at all?
Whether we give aid and how much we give is a decision made by the administration. It's made by Congress. Overall, I am a firm believer in foreign aid, strong supporter of humanitarian aid.
Is Congress really set up, though, to bring accountability?
It's hard. Our system of rewarding people is not geared to saving money. It takes too much time. It's easier to cut checks. I've had so many contracting officers and so many people come to me and say, I get my pay raise not on how successful the program is It's on how much money I put on contract. We have a broken system in rewarding people. We have a lot of great people working for our government over there, but we've given them a box of broken tools.
How can huge amounts of aid be so badly mismanaged? I wanted to visit another country with deep US influence that had also experienced unaccountable aid. Only a few hours away from Washington is the Caribbean island of Haiti. In 2010, it was hit by the worst earthquake of recent times. Once the Pearl of the Caribbean, it was already considered the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. The devastating earthquake of January 2010 was just the latest in a long list of catastrophes to strike the country. As the chaos, destruction and suffering took hold, aid groups and the international community flocked to help. UN troops came to support the relief effort, but tragically they also brought a deadly disease, cholera, which killed thousands of civilians. I came to investigate why billions of dollars of aid pledged since the earthquake had disappeared. How could so much money have so little effect?
What happened after the earthquake in 2010, where you see like this country is like a republic of NGOs, where most of the humanitarian aid or economic aid has to pass through those NGOs. And then when you look at the situation of the people, the masses of the people, you haven't seen any change yet. So you wonder what is happening.
After the earthquake, did you or your family need any assistance from anybody because of the disaster?
Oui, un peu d'assistance parce que nous tout est dans camp nous t'a vivre. Jusqu'à maintenant pas jamais gen moun qui pas besoin d'assistance.
I first met Ruth doing outreach in a Port-au-Prince displacement camp offering help to victims of sexual violence, which spiked in these makeshift communities after the quake.
En dans camp, là nous t'es arrivé dans camp. Bon, on capable dire premier monde qui était rentré dans camp était moi-même. Moi j'étais seule, m'a fait 17 jours dans camp parce que ça pas facile pour moi. C'est l'autre premier petit moi donc c'est lui-même qui était obligé de rester parce que nous tout pas de suffisamment de côté pour nous tout les papiers nous seul côté nous obligé séparer. Donc c'est comme ça il t'a pas l'acheter et fritage pendant la nuit et puis vacabo kembel yo râler. M'était petit moi tout qui était censé et violé dans le camp. Nous étions là, nous avons dormi. C'est le après l'île. C'est le après l'île qu'on y a là même. Et puis lui-même, nous jouons une coule marée. Nous jouons une coule marée, en tortillé dans le fer, petit cabane dans le fer. Donc c'était la vie triste qu'elle était. Mais parce que moi-même, je n'ai pas assez de moyens. Et pour moi-même, pour me reprendre encore en bas, pour me et comme si papier même côté ensemble avec eux. Donc moi-même j'ai décidé de descendre en bas ici me faire une petite tente moi arrêter.
Good afternoon. After the earthquake, the Haitian government introduced a reconstruction plan at an Invest in Haiti forum. Housing for civilians was not on the agenda.
On behalf of President Michel Martelly and the government of Haiti, and as Haiti's foreign minister, I want to wish you a warm welcome to Haiti. The president announced that Haiti is open for business.
This policy has been pushed on the Haitian people before by its own government and Washington. The target this time was clear.
This government is serious about your investment, nurturing it, protecting it, and we are, with any doubt, the most pro-business administration in the history of this country.
I met with Patrick Eli, leading aid critic, who is concerned about the growing influence on Haiti by international organisations.
Explain to me a little bit about how the Haitian state has been so willing to both accept so much foreign aid and to say Haiti is, quote, open for business.
When they say Haitian is open for business, they are defining a concept, whereas this country is going to be run like an enterprise. This new concept of business foreign policy, business democracy, scares me to death.
In an upmarket Port-au-Prince hotel, I received a glimpse of Open for Business, where representatives of the Finance Ministry pitched their plans to foreign and Haitian business leaders.
Bonjour tout le monde. Ça va bien? Tout le monde a pris son petit café?
Tell us about what this conference is all about.
It is designed specifically to attract foreign direct investment within Haiti. Businesses are created, jobs are created, and in this way there will be more foreign investment coming in than more foreign aid.
Aid will perpetuate aid. We have perpetuated poverty. And now it's time to get Haiti back to a free market system. Then it won't need the aid.
I travelled to the north of the country to visit Caracol, a massive industrial park built with the full support of the US State Department.
In northern Haiti, the new Caracol Industrial Park is a landmark project that captures an integrated, sustainable approach to economic development.
The State Department, who oversees US aid, decided where the US pledged $10 billion would be spent on earthquake reconstruction.
Construction is underway on a new settlement in the area with more than 1,200 homes designed to withstand hurricanes and earthquakes, each with electricity, potable water, and flush sanitation.
The Caracol project was by far the largest undertaking by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. But its location in the very north of the country was completely unaffected by the quake. To try to understand how these decisions were made, I met with both aid critic and insider Timothy Schwartz, who has lived in Haiti for the last 20 years.
Caracol, when the Koreans came in and expressed some interest, they then did, and the US State Department invited them in, they came back with a list of 10 reasons why they wouldn't invest in Haiti. And the US State Department went to them and said, no, you've got to invest in Haiti, and created a sweetheart deal. But they gave them all these breaks, millions, if not over $100 million worth of different kinds of incentives.
When you say they, though, in other words, they told the Haitian government this is how it's going to be.
The Haitian government doesn't have anything to do with it. It's all like a direct negotiation between the United States and this, the Korean entrepreneur about investing in Haiti.
About 500,000 Haitians, men, women, and children, will benefit from this project. That is 1 in 20 of all the people who live in your nation.
The U.S. government is a facilitator of U.S. business. I mean, that's why they exist overseas. In the United States, they provide services to U.S. citizens. Overseas, they provide services to U.S. business interests, corporations. That's the only thing they understand. They don't understand opportunities in Haiti or the economy in Haiti. They understand one thing, that's big business, that's factories, that's offshore assembly sector. When you talk about disaster capitalism and the capitalists coming in and sweeping up after a disaster and taking over, they don't need a plan, because those are the interests that prevail, and they're going to get their way if something doesn't counterbalance them. And the biggest problem is that the Haitians are supposed to be the recipients of development. They're not participating in the process. We alienated them.
One only has to look to the government industrial park system to see how foreign aid is failing the people of Haiti. The factories cater to foreign companies, employing nearly 20,000 people, making roughly $5 a day.
The large factories, they are creating jobs, but it does not have anything to do with local production, which brings more money than the foreign firms. And Haitian production will not move away, whereas factories who come, they can leave.
Hans Garot, who was a recent recipient of the Entrepreneur of the Year award in Haiti, works in the garment industry and has strong views about flaws in the current development plan.
It is clear that Caracol development has had the support, the financing, and the influence of the United States. The development that is brought in the industrial park, it's a pacifier for development, for real development. I dare any economist to show me one country that has developed itself with just industrial parks.
So when someone like Bill Clinton comes to Haiti, inverted commas is helping Haiti, what do you respond to those kind of comments?
There's a Haitian proverb that says, "Le zamou bo choual ou pa ka di dan pourri." When a friend gives you a horse, you can say that the horse teeth are rotten. So this is what Clinton gives. We accept it. However, we can develop a plan to develop Haiti and create lucrative jobs and put an end to the poverty, the insulting poverty that we are living in Haiti.
Ruth used to work in the industrial park system, but in the end, she refused the conditions of pay. Instead, she has done what so many other Haitians choose to do. She entered the informal economy.
Nan business mwen, bon, takou mwen gen toal sa yo la, misal yo la. Et donc, yon moun kapab vin la, li wè yon toal, li remen. Et puis, li fèm pran mesure. Et puis, mwen koud li pou li. Mwen fè chemise, mwen pa fè pantalon. Mwen fè rad timoun an pil, bel rad timoun. Mwen ka fè sa. Même les m'pas vendre chaque jour, mais me fait plus. Me fait plus. Mais puis faut tout c'est les décembre avec l'école. Donc aujourd'hui on doit vendre. On doit vendre n'importe pour $100. Mais comme ça tout doit arrêter faire combien de jours là et pour ou on doit une fois petit gain bouton ou ravitailler ou quoi mon petit gain bouton mais c'est pas un gros bagage.
Tell me a little bit about when you were working at the garment factory, what it was like for you, day-to-day life.
Bon, c'est pas du tout facile du tout parce que leur travail sous courage blanc ou bien travail comme mal travail blanc lui-même, il fixé un prix pour payer sous courage port, c'est pas bon du tout parce que tarif qu'on va aller tellement haut ou pas capable de faire.
When you hear the Haitian government saying that garment factories are one way to get this country on the right track, what do you think when you hear that?
Toujours dit ça, mais il pas jamais vrai. Pour m'aller résoudre, pas vrai. Et mon nan li même salaire balia, donc il doit pas suffire, il pas suffit pour quantité de dépenses qu'il gagne pour le faire, surtout pour tap et puis nourriture.
Ruth lives in one of the many slums in Haiti which dot the landscape of Port-au-Prince. They lack basic services like water, sewers, and electricity. The slums have existed for decades, but have ballooned after the earthquake.
Zone son zone, moun la de na vivre, c'est très vulnérable. Oui, tant que là nous gen droit et ouais, y a ba un bagay dehors. Mais moun en de communauté ça pas bénéficier en.
The displacement camps like La Piste, once home to 50,000 people, are being cleared by the government. The only housing construction projects are all linked to industrial parks, where people are expected to move and accept unlivable wages. The most notorious slum in Port-au-Prince began exactly the same way.
Tell me the history of this place here in Haiti.
Back in the 60s, the Haitian government started to have an industrialization project, started really to flock into this area. Nowadays, we have an estimated population around 350,000 people living in 24 different communes, neighborhoods.
And it seems it's permanent. I mean, it's just not temporary. It's been here, as you said, it's developed over the years.
I think it's people that decide for that. It's not us. If people are here and if they are not offered alternatives, I think that's what makes it permanent.
Haiti as a nation seems destined to remain an American client state, where Walmart and Target make their cheap clothing. During my 2 visits there, I saw few positive changes and little interest by aid groups and the US government to fix the broken system of how they do business. When I left Haiti, its political instability was worsening and its future seemed destined to repeat the problems of the past. But Haitians are taking to the streets, frustrated with their government and the failures of the international community to help rebuild their broken country. A world away in Papua New Guinea, similar questions of how to balance foreign investment are playing out. The country is Australia's closest neighbour, but remains invisible to most Australians. The people of this island are blessed with immense natural resources, but after decades of exploitation by multinational companies and corrupt local governments, they have seen little return to them. I came to investigate if the island of Bougainville in Papua New Guinea can break the cycle of disaster capitalism or tragically start it again. This post-apocalyptic landscape was in the 1970s and 80s one of the world's largest open-pit mines. The Panguna mine was operated by the British and Australian company Rio Tinto. During operation, it was 7 kilometres wide at its broadest point. It has over 1 billion tonnes of copper and gold still in reserve.
It's just painful when you look at it. Just thinking of people who own this land once were depending heavily on this land for food and everything.
I met many people who told me their stories about the mine.
It is not the same as what it used to be in the 1960s. I used to walk around here in the 1960s.
And what's it look like then?
It was beautiful, all green. There were plenty of fish in here.
These are the tailings, or the waste, that remain once the copper is separated from the rest of the rock. Once a mountain stood here, but it was dumped into the river, causing devastating pollution in this vital water source. Erosion and environmental pollution were common, and the tailings extended 15 kilometres to the sea. Birth defects started appearing on the island, and the flying fox became extinct.
Basically nothing is growing here, right? I mean, this is essentially just remains polluted and has for 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm. The further you go, the wider it becomes. And it's much more serious. The destruction that the falling or the collapsing of the sandbag is causing down is much serious than this one. And no one is even concerned about the destruction that's taking place there.
Bougainville is launching an international campaign to pressure the Australian and Papua New Guinean governments, along with mining company Rio Tinto, to take responsibility for the long-defunct Panguna copper and gold mine. Rio Tinto has recently walked away, insisting it has no legal responsibility to deal with the aftermath.
I think there is no government concern about this area, but rather they're just talking about the reopening of the mine when who's concerned about is it that this place has to be fixed? I would love to see this place being brought back to that former glory in which it was.
The historically destructive mining practices employed at Panguna caused a separatist revolution in the late 1980s, where the locals rose up against the polluting and human rights abusing facility.
One of the reasons why we stood up against all odds, against the government company Australia, because Australia was financing and training the military forces of Papua New Guinea, that old system that subjugated my people had to be changed.
A civil war was sparked, which killed an estimated 20,000 Bougainvilleans out of a population of 200,000. Australia funded and armed Papua New Guinea on behalf of Rio Tinto to suppress the local insurgency. The rebellion won, but at a steep cost.
I was seeing my people being tied with ropes on their feet and dragged along the road, and they died that way, burning villages when people were only wanting for the government and company at that time to listen to their grievances. All these actions can make a person, even a neutral person, take sides. In the history of Bougainville, the right to own mineral was stolen away from us in a colonial system.
Young leaders like Thor Neureiter embrace their personal stories to help end the vicious cycle of aid dependency.
We are trying to bring healing to the traumatized people around us, because nobody here in Bougainville can deny that I'm not traumatized, because every one of us, we have our own story to tell because of the seriousness of the conflict that we went through. Everything after 1993, I can really remember. Well, that was after my dad got shot, and life is just terrible. Because I can remember Bougainville Revolutionary Army people coming frequently to our village with bad intention.
Thor Neureiter took me to the location where her father had an encounter with the Bougainville Revolutionary Army. They wanted to know why he was away from the community, and more importantly, why he returned.
They took the issue onto their own hands and they dragged him away from where the elders and chiefs were trying to question him. And there were more than 20 army here, fully armed with guns. And they started whipping him with the guns barrels, and one of those army got up and he fired the gun. My father died.
The devastating loss for Thor Neureiter and her family has driven her to become a leader in the community. She took me to visit other graves that cover the landscape.
It is an important story to tell, because even though he's a simple man and after he died, there's no reconciliation as yet. And thousands of innocent lives lost. And the curse was placed here by this family. To them, they feel that restoration of such people should be the first thing that should be, prioritized by the government as well as the company if they are to talk about the reopening of the mine.
What happens if there was some kind of reconciliation or compensation? Do you think then you could imagine the mine returning to Bougainville?
So the question is, what should we do first? I want reconciliation to come before every other discussion, whether it means independence, whether it means referendum whatsoever, or the reopening of the mines.
I met Thor Neureiter's sister and her family. They continue to live here in the shadow of the mine.
When meals are prepared, everyone comes together and
then we just sit around
and chat and gossip and
yeah, something like that.
When the Papua mine started operating, what happened was we lost our identity. We lost our birthright. And I don't know at this moment who can restore that identity.
That joy that our ancestors used to enjoy, the life they live, it's no more because of the mine.
Today there is talk of a return to large-scale mining. It's one of the most contentious and emotive issues. When visiting Bougainville, it was rare to meet anybody who wanted large-scale mining on the island, especially under the current circumstances.
there are moves in Australia and the Papua New Guinea government and the Bougainville government and the company to reopen the mine as soon as possible. And how do you intend to deal with those moves?
Me personally, I welcome the move, but they are coming at the wrong time. When the people are empowered, they can be in a position now to invite a developer, whoever, foreigners, to come and share our wealth with them.
Papua New Guinea, which only became independent from Australia in 1975, receives more than $500 million annually from Australia, and much of this disappears into corruption. Australia views this money as insurance against Papua New Guinea becoming a failed state on its doorstep. the mine's potential reopening renews old, unresolved conflicts. Australia was obviously very involved in the whole conflict. They supported the Papua New Guinea government, they supported the mining company. What do you think Australia's responsibility should be for Bougainville?
They have obligation to this island, to the people of Bougainville. So we need to find ways in which we can bring about development so that people can realize finally what they fought for.
I spoke with one of the few who supports the reopening of the mine. Lawrence Deviona is head of a landowners association.
Yeah, the mine will have to reopen sometimes, down the line. But
why?
We are heading towards a referendum. Our government is trying to address the issue of being able to economically sustain itself as an independent country.
As part of the peace process, Bougainville became a semi-autonomous state. A referendum vote for independence was planned by 2020, but Australia, Papua New Guinea and the Bougainville governments all tie allowing a vote to the mine's reopening. The few on the island that support the reopening, like Lawrence, present that same message.
We are at present looking at homegrown mining law for the people of Bougainville, not law that is imposed from outside, and we do not want to repeat the past.
One of the criticisms of your work has been that you are being paid by BCL, the mining company, and your views are affected by those finances.
I have always been very, very close to BCL, just to keep the relationship intact with Panguna landowners.
The potential reopening of the mine has deeply divided the community. Some see it as the only way forward for economic independence. One of the strongest reasons that people who support the reopening of the mine, there's going to be an independence vote. Do you feel confident that Bougainville could survive without large-scale mining?
The question that you have asked is one of the most serious questions, and I, for one, I am so much concerned because we are at the crossroad in a sense that our leaders are trying to establish a foundation for an independent Bougainville. We just need to rehabilitate people in a way that they can create market at the community level as well as Bougainville as a whole.
Whether this new generation of young leaders can solve the problems is unclear, but there are increasing calls to reopen the mine. Any new independent country, its future relies on its youth. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I would like to further my studies later on into taking legal studies. I see myself more as a social worker and a community builder at a family level.
Theonila faces growing threats against herself and her family for being so outspoken against the return of big mining. Since I last visited these countries, they've become even more rocked by economic chaos. In Afghanistan, Javid is currently working on an anti-corruption task force. This new job has only deepened the threats against him. I received many messages from him about the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan. Tell me a little bit about why you increasingly are worried about your personal safety.
Because now I see government officials, kind of looking for me. Because, I'm encroaching on the areas of operation where they're illegally involved in extraction and, revenue generation.
What do you say to your family about your personal safety issues? Do you talk about it with them? Do they have any idea? Do you keep them in the dark for their own protection?
I have so far kept them in the dark.
Yeah. And they have no idea. In Haiti, natural disasters batter the country, while long-delayed elections have brought a new leader. He's promised to bring all foreign spending under the control of government supervision, but to date, little has changed.
Engagement pour mon travail à tout haïtien, main en main.
pour nous mettre pays sur route l'ordre, discipline et progrès, tout bon vrai.
We need better watchdogs to oversee aid. John Sopko and his Seaguar team continue to report on Afghanistan, but with mixed success. President Trump has reopened a tantalising prospect, exploiting Afghanistan's vast mineral wealth, with the figure of $1 trillion circulating again in Washington. These countries are stark reminders of how the current system is failing. Can we turn the story of aid and disaster capitalism around? The promise is in local people. They need a bigger voice in decision-making about how aid is directed. Donors must avoid wasting obscene amounts of money, not facilitate corruption, and make aid a pathway to real independence.